Hi, I'm Rizbe, and you're tuned into Way to New Zealand podcast. This is a podcast where we share real life stories of people who have lived, studied, settled in New Zealand. And today's guest is someone who has been in the industry that has helped us for the last 2 years. They have been the backbone for not just New Zealand or any one particular country, but for the entire world. Yes, our today's guest is from the healthcare sector. Her name is Jem, and she's going to be joining me in a while, sharing her story. So stay tuned right till the end. Hi, Jem. Welcome to Way to New Zealand podcast. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your time. I know you've got a busy schedule. Um, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for having me as well. How are you?
No, it's a pleasure. I'm well as well. Thank you. No, it's a pleasure to have you. And actually, I want to get right into the topic. So, you are from the healthcare, which has been an industry that has supported not just New Zealand, not just one or two countries, but the entire world. Through these last 2 years, it's been it's been traumatic 2 years for us, and I think the healthcare system has been the only support for us. How do you feel? Like, what do you feel about the healthcare sector in general?
Well, first of all, I feel very humbled by this introduction of yours. But we did play a big role in this pandemic. And of course, it's not easy at all. Um, while other people are like staying at home and getting protected from the virus, we were battling it face to face. So definitely not easy.
Yeah, no, it is. It is some, like, you were the superheroes for us, because we all were scared, and it was a time when we didn't know. It was very uncertain. We didn't know what's happening. Are we still protected if we wear the mask or not? And now it's become a norm to go out. But you guys were there right in the front. So, Jem, talking about your personal career, your personal life. So, you've been a nurse, and you're currently working in Auckland, in
Mhm.
around the Manukau region. Um, so, how did this all start for you? How did you end up in New Zealand?
So coming here is actually by an accident. I didn't really plan to come to New Zealand. So I was working then in Saudi Arabia as a registered nurse, and then I came back home, and then I thought I wanted to go to the UK or to the US. So I actually initially planned for those countries. And then just by chance, I happened to speak to my friend at the time who was a student here in New Zealand. And he was like, "Why don't you try New Zealand?" And I was like, "Yeah, might as well try all the options." And so I did apply. And then it was just so quick. After maybe 2 weeks, I got my visa. And here I am.
Wow. So you were in the Philippines originally, and then you went to Saudi,
Yeah.
for a year or so, and you worked there as well, and then you
Mhm.
came back home. You're like, okay, now I'm going to go to UK or US, and your friend was in New Zealand at that time when they asked you.
Yes. Yes, he was a student here in New Zealand, and he was just
Right,
here for maybe less than a year at the time. And he just
right.
told me, why don't I apply? So yeah.
So at that time, did you know where exactly was New Zealand on the map?
No, I didn't have any idea at all. I mean, I heard about New Zealand, like about dairy farming, those things. We get a lot of milk products from New Zealand, but that's all I knew about it. I didn't even know where on part of the map it existed at the time. So yeah.
It's also excluded in a lot of maps, world maps. New
Yeah, yeah,
Zealand.
apparently up until now.
Yeah. So, but it's so cool, right? You don't plan for things, but then these beautiful things happen. You called it an accident, and I think it's a beautiful accident to happen. Because coming to this country, what was your perception before coming into this country, and how did it change, or Was it like, a good change or a change your perception about New Zealand as a country?
Yeah. So, well, as I've said, I didn't have, much idea about New Zealand at that time. So I did do a bit of research, but that was in 2013, and I didn't get much information back then at the internet. And all the photos that I saw were like photos of the Sky Tower,
Yeah.
um,
Harbor
the
Bridge.
farms, the harbor bridge. So pretty much that's what I knew about it. And it was definitely a big change for me because I thought, oh, it's gonna be boring. Coming from the Philippines, it's a fast-paced country, lots of, places to go,
Yeah.
lots of people to see. It's very busy. And then I thought, oh, New Zealand is gonna be a slow-paced country. So initially, I was like, it's so boring in here. I couldn't cope up with it at first. I was feeling very, very homesick. But then maybe after a few weeks, I started to explore New Zealand more. And then um, I've traveled to more places, I guess. And then that's how I saw uh, actually, New Zealand is not bad at all. It's actually pretty good. It changed my life completely from coming from a fast-paced, country. I became pretty slow myself as well, and I actually quite enjoyed it because I have more time to,
Yeah.
explore the country, look around, smell the flowers, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think appreciating the small things, the little things, and not slow but more calm. I think this is
Yes,
what this
yes, calm.
country
Yeah,
makes you. It makes you very calm.
yeah,
So that's
that's right.
that's your overall perception. But you already mentioned that initially there were like a few struggles that you had to go through. You were homesick, didn't feel like this country was not treating you that well. Now, I want to ask you, so where did you arrive in New Zealand? Did you arrive in Auckland or
Yeah,
were you anywhere else? You were in Auckland
no,
before.
I was in Auckland then. Yeah.
Okay, so you were in Auckland and you still felt, and Auckland is termed to be the busiest city, but still compared to the Philippines, it is a bit,
Yes.
peaceful and more organized, to say that way.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
so what was your job hunt like? You've come into this new country, and then first thing that we all are looking for is like a part-time job. Did you ever look for a part-time job, or what was your part-time job like?
Okay. To be honest, healthcare in New Zealand was in demand at the time when I came, and I would say it is still up to this moment. Um, Maybe in a matter of a month, I found a job. So then I wasn't a registered nurse then. So in order to become a registered nurse here in New Zealand, you have to go through a course and you have to do it for about approximately 6 weeks. So when I came here on a student visa, I studied a different course. It was healthcare management, so it wasn't nursing. So it didn't give me the nursing registration to practice as a nurse. But then, as a student, I was able to work as a healthcare assistant. So pretty much everyone who comes here as a student do that job. And maybe in just a matter of a month, I found a job. Yeah,
Wow,
so it was, yeah, and
that's pretty quick actually,
very
and that
quick.
too in your area.
Yeah, and in that 1 month, the active phase probably of me finding a job would be just a week.
Okay,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So
And
it's very in demand in New Zealand
yeah,
at
it
that
is.
time.
And
Yeah.
yeah, after this current news that we've heard, there is new ICU setup that's coming up in New Zealand, and we're short of nurses.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, we are short of nurses. So definitely, it's a very high in demand job to have, or
Yes. And
skill or
yeah,
qualification to have.
and just to add on that, so after I did get my nursing registration, um, a job as a registered nurse was already waiting for me. So I was working then as a community support worker for this company, and then as soon as I got my nursing registration, they hired me as a registered nurse as well. So I
Wow,
didn't have to apply anywhere else at all.
that's so cool. You didn't have to go through all the hassle of making CVs and applying for jobs.
No,
Oh,
not at that time. Yeah.
that's amazing. So yeah, so for you, finding a job and getting into work is was very smooth, I would say, very
Yeah.
easy. But there were other challenges. So tell me about what were the main major challenges for you, because this is not just for people who are listening right now and planning to make the big move to New Zealand, but also in general, when someone's making that big move into a different country altogether, you're getting outside your comfort zone. There are a few challenges that everyone faces, and those challenges would be different for different people. What was that one big challenge for you?
Probably the biggest challenge for me was the homesickness. Um, I grew up with my family, and I grew up in a big family, and we were pretty much together until after I finished my uni. So up until I was maybe 24, I was at home. So after that, I had to move here alone. And I didn't know anyone here at all except for my friend who was living in Christchurch then. But then I came here to Auckland. So I didn't know anyone. So that was the biggest challenge for me, I would say. Yeah.
So how did you make friends? Because you reach at they say that as you grow older, it's even harder to make new friends. Um, I don't know. Some people believe in it, some people don't. But how did you make new friends? What was your go to?
So I came here in 2013, um, and I met this group of people who were coming here at the same time. So we pretty much just met at the airport, and we were
Oh
coming from the same agency. And luckily, they're all like, same-minded people like me. So we just all drive together, and we were going to the same school at that time. And yeah, so we all just planned to find the same accommodation. And then, yeah, so we're still friends up to now, actually.
oh wow! I know some
Yeah.
friendships that are made at that time. They always stay for, and you all might have been at different places now, and you all would relate back and say, "Oh, remember those days when we used to go to the counter and only look for specials."
Yes, yes, yes. I'm eating fast food, those things.
Yeah. So talking about your social life. So you come from a very busy place, Philippines, a very busy country. A lot of people out there. So your social life when you were in the Philippines compared to your social life today, how would you rate it?
Uh,
It's a very tough
it felt,
one.
yeah, very tough one. When I was in the Philippines, so say Philippines was a 10, 10 out of
Okay.
10.
Okay.
Here when I came here at first, I never knew anyone, so I would rate it, and I knew just those people who I came with. Let's say a 3. But then when I started knowing people, meeting people at work, through common friends as well. So I would say I'm pretty much back to normal now. I,
Or
I, I
maybe it's
think
gone to
I've
11.
I've gotten, or maybe I've just gotten used to it, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
now it gets tougher when you go back, right? Because now you don't want so many people around you, or you don't, you want
Yes,
that quiet time.
that's
Yeah,
true actually. Yeah.
it's
I
changing.
try to be subtle when I come home, because yeah, I pretty much couldn't meet everyone when I'm
Yeah,
home. Yeah.
amazing. No, that's very cool. So we've touched jobs, we've touched your social life. There's other challenge also that a lot of people face, and that's with accommodation. Um, was it very easy for you to get an accommodation, or did you have your own challenges in there?
Um, when I came here, because I was on a student visa, pretty much the accommodation was already, prepared for by the school, I think, or by the agency. So we had probably about 2 weeks of accommodation from school. And then after that, we had to find our own. So it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was super easy finding accommodation because you have to find time and, be able to view the place as well. Plus, there's also a bit of competition at the time because there was
Yeah,
just a lot of students coming to New Zealand at that time. So, but we did manage to find accommodation maybe in a matter of 2 weeks, within that 2 weeks time. So we
oh
were
nice.
able to find something. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Now, you like you studied in Auckland, but then I believe you have also lived in Christchurch for a while.
Hmm. Yeah.
So how do you compare Auckland life in Auckland to life in Christchurch? What is the difference? Because you have lived it actually.
Yes. So when I told you before that I thought Auckland was slow paced, maybe times 10 would be Christchurch. um, it was pretty laid back out there. But in terms of affordability, I would say Christchurch was more affordable. Renting and even food, I would say it's a bit cheaper in Christchurch, and I felt like everything was close by in Christchurch. Like I didn't have to travel
Yeah.
long to be able to get from A to B. So yeah, um, the only thing was I didn't know much in Christchurch either at the time, apart from workmates. So it was another whole lot of challenge for us because we were only meeting workmates at the time. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that once people who move outside Auckland and live outside for a long time, when they come back to Auckland, they're like, "Oh God, there's so much traffic here, and there's so many people." The
Yeah, that's
mindset
true.
changes a lot of times.
Yeah,
Um,
you won't get that much traffic, I would say, at that time in Christchurch. I can't say if it's the same up to now,
yeah.
though.
I think it's changing. It's changing, and I think with now the new, once the borders open up, I think
Mhm.
we're going to see more people in Christchurch as well because it's really developing, and
Mhm.
it's going like the real estate market there is gone to the next level. So yeah, definitely there is a lot
Yeah.
of room for growth there.
I did, we did visit Christchurch maybe 2 years ago, just before the lockdown. And my gosh, it's changed a lot. And I
Yeah,
would say they're stepping up their game out there. Yeah. And I
absolutely.
really enjoyed it the last time I went there.
Oh, nice. Okay, so now one last bit is for someone who's watching us right now, or who's listening to us right now, and who's yet deciding that whether they want to move to New Zealand or any other country for that matter. What would be your one piece of advice for them?
So, if they want a place which is laid back, a very diverse country, multicultural, where everyone is valued, and if you want something which is family oriented place, then New Zealand is going to be a best place for you. And if you want those finding nature, going for nature trips, those things, definitely New Zealand is the best place for you.
I so like the way you said family oriented, because I actually feel that this place is actually a small little family and everyone lives like, one happy family together. That's
Yeah.
very powerful words, Jem. Thank you so much for your time
All
today.
right.
It
No,
was
thank you. Mhm.
wonderful to have this conversation with you. And I'm sure someone who's listening to us right now is definitely has got something out of this whole conversation. So thank
I
you
hope so.
once again.
Thank you.
So that was Jem, who's currently working in Manukau Surgery Center in Auckland as a nurse. She's a registered nurse, and she shared her wonderful story from how she came to New Zealand to what it has become for her, how things have changed, how she's changed as a person. So keep listening to Way to New Zealand podcast. We will bring you an episode every week. And yes, if you are looking to make that big move, if you're looking to move into New Zealand, then do check out mynzuni.com, where you'll be able to compare different courses, check out different career outcomes, and be more informed before you can take that big move. This is me, Rusbe, signing off for now. I'll see you next week.